If you watch until the end, and if you understand all of the concepts, the sites, and the tips and tricks that I'm about to go through, you will have an exponentially better chance at copping the Jordan 1 High Chicago Lost and Found. For anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Troy, aka SoFlo Sneakers, and as you can see behind me, I have been copping sneakers for the retail price for a very long time. Reselling sneakers, making content, and running my Discord group is what I do each and every single day, so I do know a thing or two about this market, and in today's video, I'm going to be dropping a ton of knowledge for you guys, and I'm basically going to be going over the best sites, the best methods, and overall what I think is going to be the best way for everyone watching to get their hands on a pair of these Chicagos. I'll be doing a live stream for this drop on release day, which is Saturday, November 19th, and I'm going to be copping the shoes live with you guys, answering any questions you might have, and overall just having a good time. It'll be starting at 9 a.m. Eastern, which is roughly an hour before the drop, so I'm looking forward to seeing everyone pull up. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you like sneakers and this type of content, and make sure to drop a like if this video provided you value in any way. On that note, let's get into it. Before we get into the site lists, I just want to go over some quick facts about the shoe. The retail price is $180, and if you're able to hit on either a men's or a GS or both, these are going to be instant and guaranteed profit on each and every single pair. Every single pair that you hit is going to be the equivalent to at least $100 to $150 in profit. So this is a no-brainer shoe that everyone should be going all out on and just trying as hard as you possibly can to land as many possible pairs. So the first topic we're going to be covering is going to be everything that happens before the actual release day, and this typically consists of raffles both in-store and online, and there's another site that's going to be dropping them before the release too. If you're someone who has access to a car and you have access to sneaker stores like Shoe Palace, Finish Lines, Snipes, etc., it is a very good way to not only increase your chances of getting pairs, but to network, talk to managers, talk to employees. The in-store game is highly dependent on connections and networking, and the only way to really go and make those connections is to get out there, start talking to people, going in-store, trying to go for these releases, even just talking to people if there's a line. So the first way to increase your chances of getting the Jordan 1 High Chicago is to look around your area, see which sneaker stores are doing in-store raffles for these pairs, go in, enter the raffles, make connections, try to network as best as you possibly can. The next type of raffle we're going to be talking about is going to be online raffles. The thing about online raffles is that certain stores actually have winners and other stores just throw up the raffle to make it look like they're putting up a raffle, but realistically they probably already sold all the pairs, or maybe they have a couple pairs that they're going to actually send to the raffle winners. There is a major luck factor in entering in on these raffles, but I do know people who are strictly manual raffle enters, and they do win from time to time. You're probably not hitting each and every single release, but if you actually take the time to enter up on all of these different stores for a bunch of different releases, you're more than likely going to end up hitting a pair or two here and there, and it could be worth your time. Within my Discord group, SoFlo Supply, we have a raffle channel which automatically posts each and every single raffle for all of the major stores, and we pretty much tell you which raffles are worth entering for and which ones aren't with our pinger. So here's a couple tips on entering up on online raffles to ensure that you are not getting filtered, to ensure that your entries are not invalid. The main way that people get filtered or their entries become invalid is that you keep repeating the same information within each entry over and over and over again. So basic things, guys: use a different name, use a different email, use different addresses if possible, if you have friends, if you have family, if you have neighbors. If it's a pre-authorization raffle, which means that they charge your card and then if you don't win, they just refund you, then you should be using different cards on your entries if you're entering up on the same store. And if you really want to be certain that your entries will not be getting filtered, ideally you should be using a different IP address for each and every single entry to the same store. And the goal of doing this is so that you look like a completely unique person. You do not look like a bot. You do not look like the same person trying to enter up multiple times over and over and over again. That's going to be one of the best ways as a manual user to actually be able to hit on these online raffles. So we covered in-store raffles, we covered online raffles, and the next site we're going to be talking about is going to be Foot Sites and their FLX program. So this is sites like Foot Locker, Champs, Eastbay, and Kids Foot Locker. Basically, guys, you go in store to a Foot Locker or you go online and you spend money on your account. They give you points, and then once you reach a certain threshold of points, they allow you to start winning these FLX in-store reservations. If you live in a super populated region, it's going to be more competitive and it's going to be more difficult to hit on these in-store reservations. And on the flip side, if you live somewhere where there's not a ton of people, it's going to be much less competitive and you'll more than likely likely need less points in order to be able to win. The next site we're going to be talking about is going to be Finish Line and JD Sports. And this one is actually pretty interesting because it doesn't look like they're going to be doing any in-store or any first come first serve online releases. The only release they are going to be doing is going to be via exclusive access, which is very similar to the FLX point system, in which it's basically pay to win. If you have anywhere from $250 to $1,000+ spent on your account for these stores, you should have a pretty solid chance of getting exclusive access. Although my account has thousands spent and sometimes I still don't get it, and I know a lot of people have the same exact experience, so it is relatively random on which accounts get access and which don't. But the only way to really achieve access is if you're able to spend money on your account and build up your status points. Finish Line and JD Sports typically like to give out access 1 and 2 days before the release, with 2 days before being for in-store access and 1 day before being online access. There's also 2 different time frames which they like to give access for, which is 9 a.m. Eastern and 11 a.m. Eastern. Their app notification system and their email system is always extremely delayed, and typically by the time they tell you you have access or they send you an email that you have access, the shoe is most likely already sold out. Another really cool feature that we have within my Discord group SoFlo Supply is that we have an FNL and a JD queue checker. So basically whenever they throw up the queue, which means that they're going to release something or they're going to drop exclusive access, our members are automatically alerted that it went up and that there's more than likely something going to be dropping. So for a recap of everything dropping pre-release, we have online raffles, we have in-store raffles, we have FLX reservations, and we also have exclusive access going down on Finish Line and JD Sports. And now we're going to head on to drop day, which is Saturday, November 19th. And the first drops are typically going to start at 8 a.m. Eastern. For the high majority of every sneaker release, there's always going to be a ton of different Shopify websites that drop these shoes. And let's just talk about Shopify real quick. Shopify is going to be extremely difficult for manual users. And what I mean by manual user is that you don't have a bot and you don't have any kind of custom auto checkout software. To put this extremely blunt, by the time you add the product to cart and you type in your first name manually, the product is already sold out. And that's just how Shopify works. It is very quick. Stock goes extremely fast. And if you're just sitting there manually typing in your information, you have zero chance. Within my group, we do offer a complimentary auto checkout software extension, which does work fantastic on Shopify. And basically it just fills out your information very quickly. It hits next, fills out your payment very fast, and then it submits it, and it overall just gives you a much better chance of being able to actually hit on these different Shopify sites than if you're just sitting there typing in your information manually. So if you don't have a software like that, or you don't have a bot and you're just going to be sitting there typing in your information or trying to use Chrome autofill, Shopify is going to be very tough, and I don't really know if it's something that I would recommend spending your time on. With that being said, let's cover some of the main Shopify sites that are going to be dropping, and we're going to start at the first ones, which are going down at 8 a.m. Eastern. The first site is going to be Undefeated, and these guys are infamous for their cancels. You have to have a good account, you have to have information that they like, and they'll let your order stick. But there's been times where they're just sitting there canceling for hours. They're just restocking pairs, canceling them, restocking pairs, canceling them. So it can be a little bit of a pain in that aspect. But if you do have a good account, if you are experienced with Shopify botting, then it's a fantastic site to go for. And it's definitely one that I'm going to be running for personally. The next site on the list is going to be Exhibition. Once again, another Shopify site. You're going to need a bot. You're going to need some sort of auto checkout software if you want even a chance of being able to hit on this site. And the last main Shopify site dropping at 8 a.m. is going to be Rule of Next, and the same thing is going to apply for this one too. So after 8 a.m. drops, there's a pretty big gap period, and there was a few sites dropping at 9 a.m. Eastern, but they aren't really doing it anymore. So I'm just going to assume they're going to be dropping at 10. And 10 a.m. Eastern is where the high majority of sites are going to be dropping. And we're going to start at Shopify again and just run through some of the main ones that I go for and some of the main ones that you can actually have a pretty decent chance of hitting. And then we're going to get onto the other sites. So to start out the 10 a.m. Shopify sites, we have Kith. Next up, we're going to have Concepts. And these are two of my favorite and two that I have been able to hit on a pretty decent amount. Another good store is YCMC. We then have Shoe Palace, and once again, sitting on the front page. Right now, they only have grade school loaded, loaded, and there's currently a little bit over 1,000 pairs. It's a very healthy amount of stock on ShoePal, so that's another very good site that typically gets a lot of stock, just like they did here. We then have other Shopify sites like Jimmy Jazz, DTLR, Bodega, and really the same thing is going to apply for all of these Shopify sites. They're going to be pretty difficult to hit on. So now, since we went through some of the main Shopify sites, let's talk about sites that are not Shopify. The first one we're going to be talking about is Hibbett, and we're going to hop onto their website right now. So this is Hibbett's site, and they're going to be dropping both men's and both GS pairs of the Chicagos. And I'm going to give you guys some sauce on Hibbett. There's really only one way to hit this if you're not using a bot, and that is going to be on Apple Pay. So you see we have a countdown timer right here, and what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go onto your Safari. You're going to want to make sure that you have your Apple Pay all set up and ready to go, typically with Face ID, so you don't have to type in your password, so it's as fast as humanly possible. And what you're going to do is you're going to come onto this product page right here. You're going to be sitting on your Safari. You're going to be waiting for the countdown timer. I usually wait until about 2 to 3 seconds before the drop. I hit refresh, and then a lot of the times Hibbett just loads out of stock, and there's just nothing you can really do about that. But when they do actually decide to drop stock, this method does work, and I've hit with it a couple times in the past. So 2 to 3 seconds before the drop, you refresh, you scroll down, and then you should see sizes in stock, and they should not be grayed out. They should be black, and it should be in stock. You click on a size, you scroll down, you hit Apple Pay, and then you try to pay as fast as possible. If you get to the Apple Pay screen and it gives you an error, a lot of the times that means out of stock, but that's the sauce. That's how you hit Hibbett manually. Good luck on desktop. Nearly impossible if you're not using a bot, and there really isn't a lot of bots that even work on Hibbett in the first place. So if they do load stock, what I just told you is going to be the absolute best method for hitting a pair manually. So Hibbett is definitely a site that I would recommend going for if you're a manual user and you do have access to Apple Pay and you can do the method that I just went over. The next site we're going to be talking about is going to be Footsites once again, and this isn't going to be for their FLX in-store registration. This is going to be for their first come, first serve online release. And I'm not going to waste anyone's time here, and I'm going to save you some time. If you are a manual user, it is impossible. I haven't seen someone hit manual in months, if not years. Their site is so bad that even botting is very hard to hit. And they have a queue system, so basically you have to pass the entire queue system, which could take 2 minutes or it could take 30 minutes. And then once you finally pass the queue system, you'll see that it says there's sizes in stock, but you'll sit there trying to add to cart, add to cart, add to cart. It's trash. Not worth your time unless you have a bot. And even if you do have a bot, it is still very hard to hit on these sites. Besides for their awful first come, first serve release on Footsites, they do have a program called Ship to Me, which is very similar to the FLX in-store reservations we were talking about a little bit earlier in the video, but the shoes will actually ship to you and you won't have to go in store to go pick up the pairs. This is definitely a pretty viable option, and I have seen a lot of people have success with Ship to Me. If you do have points and you can use your head starts, that is obviously going to be an added benefit. The next 10 a.m. Eastern site we're going to be talking about is going to be Snipes USA, and this one is very interesting because of the way that their drops work and that they have a queue system. Within our group, we do something called bypass links, which basically allows all of our members to bypass this entire queue, and Snipes typically drops a pretty decent amount of stock, and we've honestly had a ton of success within the group using these bypass links to bypass the entire queue, and then we use our auto checkout software, which runs through the checkout process as fast as humanly possible. So if you have access to bypass links, if you have access to an auto checkout software, Snipes USA is honestly a super good cook for manual users. The next site we're going to be talking about is going to be the Better Generation, and these guys actually have their own app, and within this app on hyped up releases like this, they like to do these random games where you have to play, and if you rank within the top 10 or top 20 score of everyone else playing, you win the shoe. So it's actually pretty fun, and it's a really fair chance for manual users, especially if you're good at games, because you can't bot it. And I have seen people win on this app in the past before, so I would recommend downloading it and keeping an eye on their social medias to see when they're actually going to be releasing. That's going to lead us into the last site which we're talking about in today's video, which is going to be the Sneakers app. Everyone knows what this app is, and if you don't, go download it from the App Store right now, because if you are able to hit, it is free money. I do have some tips and I do have some tricks for this website, so I'm just gonna run them off and hopefully they're able to help. Number one, the more devices, the better chance you have of hitting. And so this can be an iPhone, an iPad, your mom's iPhone, your dad's iPhone. brother, sister, friends, family, etc. Get as many devices as you possibly can for this drop. Make as many different sneakers accounts. And like I was talking about with the raffle entries, this is going to be the same thing where you're going to have to be using unique info and unique cards on each and every single one of your sneakers accounts. The best way to do this from my experience is, let's say you have 2 devices. You want to run one of your devices on your home Wi-Fi, and then you want to run the other one on the LTE, because what that's going to do is keep the IP addresses separate, and it's going to look like they're unique entries. One very interesting thing I've noticed lately about sneakers accounts is that fresh accounts are hitting. So that means if you go and you make an account today or tomorrow, there actually is a chance that you could hit on these Jordan 1 Lost and Found Chicagos. It's not impossible by any means. I've made accounts a week in advance that started hitting on drops and started hitting on hyped up drops, to be honest. So do yourself a favor, go make as many sneakers accounts on as many different devices as you have access to, and be ready to enter up on each and every single one of them. One other thing to keep in mind on the sneakers app is they'll be dropping men's, GS, and they'll be dropping infants too. And once you're on the men's page, you just want to scroll down to enter up for GS and infants too. And there's absolutely no risk because there's free returns on Nike. So I would highly recommend entering up on all 3 shoes on every single account and device that you own. For some reason, Nike decided that it would be a good idea to also drop the Panda Dunks on the most hyped up day of the year alongside the Chicagos. This site and this app is about to get absolutely toasted. So if you're having trouble entering, just keep in mind the app is fried and you just have to keep trying. Sometimes I like to just refresh the app completely, get back in, try to enter up, just keep trying, keep being consistent, and just refresh the app, get back in, enter up on all 3 sizes, and you gotta pray that luck is on your side. So once again, I am gonna be live streaming this drop on the day of the release, starting at 9 a.m. Eastern. I hope to see many of you guys there, and I hope this video was able to help. Good luck to everyone who's going for these, and I hope we're all able to hit.